Pools and patios. 306 East Main Cross, Taylorville.
WTIM. You're listening to the WTIM Pana Morning Show on your information station. The show is sponsored by People's Bank and Trust, where they put people first, along with Pizza Man, Noren's Hardware, Bob Ridings Pana, and Okanee Chop Shop. I'm your host, Reed Kamai. My next guest this morning is Kevin Collins, a nurse practitioner at Express Care at Pana Community Hospital. And Kevin, thanks so much for joining us this morning.
Thanks for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
Yes. Yeah. No, it's good to have you in this morning because, hey, we're getting closer to the summer. It's beginning to feel a little like summer for the most part. And that, of course, gives rise to some things to know as far as our health goes. I know it's a busy time for walk-in clinics, which is something you're involved with. What are some of the more common issues you're seeing right now in Express Care? What do you typically see, around this time of the year in the summer? What's that like?
So we get a lot of allergy symptoms like runny nose, cough, sneezing, just from being outside in the pollen. Of course, also with the warmer weather and more kids being outdoors, it's more so kids, but adults too, working, mowing lawns, pulling weeds, doing things like that. We're getting a lot more rashes such as poison ivy, insect bites, and the lovely sunburns.
All right. So, a little bit of all of that. And I was thinking about allergies. It seems like it seems like there are a lot of inconvenient high occurrence times as far as that goes, right? Because you have the allergies in the spring, and then in the cold, you tend to get colds, the flu, a lot more. So, I mean, is there ever really like a dry spell in that respect?
Not really.
Yeah.
We talk about things going in waves, but like the cold/runny nose symptoms, those seem to be all year round. But it's hard to determine if the runny nose in the winter is a cold or an allergy just based on symptoms, because it could still be an allergy to, a cat or just some allergen in the house that you weren't aware of. So.
Okay, so yeah, a lot of possibilities there, and then you mentioned some other things. I'm sure we'll get more into that as we go on. Actually, we'll do one of those right now because you mentioned poison ivy. That's something we hear a lot about this time of the year, and then also I'm sure quite a bit further into the summer. What should folks do if they come into contact with it?
So the main thing they, obviously try to avoid it if you can. But once you come into contact with it, you want to wash the area as quickly as possible and as thoroughly as possible with soap and water. This is where then I tell patients, start using some antihistamines like Claritin, Zyrtec, something like that, because that can help keep the rash from spreading. And then after you have washed the area, make sure that you change all your linen that you've been in contact with, primarily your bed sheets. I also recommend any patient who has a poison ivy type rash only sit in one spot in the house, like the lazy boy or something, but put sheets down so that way you're not contaminating the couch or chair as well. And then you can do hydrocortisone over the counter for the itch. But worst case, that's when you would probably need to see someone like at Express Care, maybe get a steroid shot or some oral steroids or even just a steroid cream to help.
Okay, so a lot of steps to take there if you come into contact with poison ivy. Now, I'm sure a lot of folks would rather be proactive and try to avoid getting in contact. So in terms of what poison ivy looks like, because obviously there are a lot of plants out there. Any tips that you have about kind of what that is and how to avoid it?
Yeah, it's the saying is leaves of three, let them be. So if you see any green plants somewhere and it's just leaves of three, don't touch them. Most places, poison ivy is usually not close. If it's like a park or whatever, it's not usually right there along like a trail or around playground equipment, but it's usually more off the path. So if you're hiking or whatever, try to stay in the middle of a path. Don't go off the trails or whatever, and then you should be okay. And then one thing I just wanted to add really fast as a piggyback when you asked me my previous question about what to do, when I said wash the area as quickly as possible, most people, and I get this a lot, they'll wash their poison ivy and they'll take a really, really hot, steamy shower because it feels good. And that's actually what you don't want to do. You want to cool the water down a little bit, because the hotter the water, it dries out your skin and it makes your rash more aggravated and it makes it itch more.
Okay, so it sounds like we want colder water,
Yes.
and then okay, yeah. So yeah, good point there. I had a couple of years ago, I had a close encounter, I thought, with poison ivy, and then just to be cautious, I remember washing it, knowing myself, I actually probably would have gone under some hot water. So yeah, good tip there from Kevin Collins, a nurse practitioner at Express Care at Pana Community Hospital. So we talked about poison ivy, sunburns, another big concern, especially with how the weather has been last few days in our area. And I understand there can come a point where, a sunburn might be serious enough to get some medical attention, and it's more than just physically irritating. What does it take for someone to maybe get to that point?
Yeah. So I do want to stress, for the most part, a sunburn is just an inconvenience. So just typical, cooler water, anti-inflammatories, skin moisturizers will treat the sunburn appropriately. Aloe with lidocaine will help with some pain. But if you start noticing things like blisters getting bigger, especially on your face, hands, or genital area, if you start noticing swelling around your face or any joint, fever, things like confusion, chills, nausea, or vision changes, that's when you really want to go see a medical professional.
Okay, and then in terms of what that medical help would look like, are we talking like medication, shots, anything like that?
It would depend on the severity. So normally, if it's a really bad sunburn and a patient were to come to Express Care, I usually, if they're having those symptoms I just mentioned, I usually send them to the ER, because they might need IV fluids just to replace, because it could be severely dehydrated. They might just need more, airway support, oxygen, things like that we cannot provide at Express Care. But a patient could always start at Express Care, and we can triage the patient. And if it's something that we cannot handle, we would recommend the emergency room. But if if the airway is fine and the patient is not confused, normally then we can treat them. And yes, it might just be a steroid or something for a few days.
Okay, so it sounds like it could get escalated a little bit, and then it gets taken care of in that way. But something to watch for, plenty of things to watch for when it comes to sunburns. I'm curious if you've seen an increase in like fungal rashes or skin rashes in kids, nowadays, or around this time of the year, considering they're outside more in the summer. What's that like, and how can we maybe try to prevent it?
Overall, yes, in the summer we do see a slight increase in some skin infections, primarily the fungal, and that's primarily because, again, more kids are outside playing in the dirt or in sandboxes. We're getting dirtier outside and not washing our hands right away, or younger kids are playing in dirt and then putting their hands in their mouth, and or wiping their nose, so they are spreading stuff. But try, if at all possible, if kids could avoid playing in sandboxes or dirt where animals have been known to defecate, to avoid any kind of parasite or ringworm, that would be great. If you do see usually a child, so if you do see your child or whatever in an area like that, and you are concerned for any kind of ringworm or parasite, again, wash the hands, face, feet, whatever it is, as quickly as possible with soap and water, preferably an antibacterial soap. And then if you start to notice any signs of ringworm, which would be like a circular rash with clearing in the middle, like pretty much think of like a donut or just a circle, and the middle is clear, then you might need to, again, go to an Express Care and get an antifungal cream.
All right, so plenty of things to watch out for if you're a parent, because I mean, maybe that's not what a child is thinking about. I know in my days in the sandbox as a child, I was not thinking about those things. So definitely some things to look out for. I'm talking right now with Kevin Collins, a nurse practitioner at Express Care at Pana Community Hospital. Kevin, let's take a break. When we come back, we'll talk about some other things that are worth looking out for as we get into the summer months, as they come a little closer and certainly feel like they are here. And that'll be coming up right here on the WTIM Pana Morning Show on your information station.
Your information station, WTIM.
If you're like most people, finding extra money for your savings just doesn't happen. Hi, this is Julie Sanchez at People's Bank and Trust, and we have the solution you've been looking for. Sign up for our Save by Spendings Roundup program, and we'll round up your purchases to the next dollar, then transfer that change to your savings account. It's as easy as shop, enjoy, and save. Start saving for the things you really want with our Save by Spending Roundup program. Call 888-PBT-1954 and let us put you and your savings first. People's Bank and Trust, member FDIC, equal housing lender.
Norrin's Hardware is a local family-owned store offering a wide selection of quality hardware supplies at competitive prices. Whether you need plumbing supplies or electrical supplies, you're sure to find what you need at Norrin's Hardware store, including ice melt, shovels, gloves, heat tape, pipe insulation, portable heaters, and propane to get ready for the winter months. Our staff is committed to providing outstanding customer service and is ready to assist you. Visit our store at 55 Main Street in Pana today.
AgriTalk is the radio talk show for American agriculture. Hi, everybody. I'm your host, Chip Flory. We join you weekday mornings from 10 to 11 on WTIM on AM and FM and on the WTIM streams. We provide farmers and ranchers with timely insights and information aimed at improving their operations. Join me, Chip Flory, weekdays at 10:06 on your Ag Information Station, WTIM.
Christian County, your input matters. The Christian County Health Department invites you to take the iPlan 2026 Community Health Survey. Your responses help us understand what health services are needed, what's missing, and how to plan for the next 5 years. It only takes a few minutes, but it makes a big difference. Click on our banner at TaylorvilleDailyNews.com and share your voice today. Christian County Health Department, working together for a healthier community.
Get ready for an action-packed week at the 2026 Christian County Fair, July 21st through 25th in Taylorville, Illinois. Come out for all the fair excitement. Friday night, July 24th. It's not one, but two country superstars in the grandstand, featuring country sensation Gary Allen.
Nothing on but the radio.
And special guest Mark Chestnut.
I'm going through the big thing and don't mean that.
For a complete fair schedule and to get your tickets now, go to thechristiancountyfair.com.
Carl Krumsick here from Krumsick Monument Company in Taylorville, Illinois. Find out the many services we provide by clicking our icon on the obituaries page of TaylorvilleDailyNews.com.
This is Blaine Cornwell with Prairie State Insurance. To learn more about our products and services, click our icon on TaylorvilleDailyNews.com.
Your information station, WTIM.
Welcome back to the WTIM Pana Morning Show on your information station. The show is sponsored by People's Bank and Trust, where they put people first, along with Pizza Man, Norrin's Hardware, Bob Ridings Pana, and Okanee Chop Shop. I'm your host, Reed Kamai, and I continue my conversation with Kevin Collins, a nurse practitioner at Express Care at Pana Community Hospital, and we've been talking about some things to keep an eye on as the summer approaches and as we've been feeling some of that summer-like weather recently. I want to get into something that is actually quite relevant for me at the very moment, insect bites. I happen to have plenty on me after a weekend walk, so I know that's a very common thing, and like I said, it's certainly feeling like it this year. What should folks know about treating mosquito bites and possibly even some more concerning bites like ticks?
So again, it's important to know mosquito bites are more of an annoyance than anything. I was actually running on a trail yesterday, and I got attacked by a bunch of mosquitoes. So I'm feeling your pain right now. So what's important to know is that you don't want to scratch the mosquito bites. If you feel like they're really itching, use your finger pads and rub them, because the more you scratch, the more irritated they become, and they could actually then become infected. But again, for the most part, just wash the area with soap and water. You could use over-the-counter hydrocortisone cream, over-the-counter antihistamines like a Zyrtec or a Claritin, something like that. Any kind of lotion to keep the skin moist should help keep the mosquito bite from becoming more of an annoyance. But again, if it becomes infected, like it's really red, you start noticing drainage, pain, then you want to seek help. You might need an antibiotic at that point. One thing you want to look out for are the tick bite. The most common tick bite that we see is the deer tick, which is the brown tick that leaves the bullseye marking on your skin, and you would need to seek medical attention for that to make sure you don't get Lyme disease, which could have lifetime negative effects.
Yeah, so that is definitely something to look for. You mentioned the bullseye. So is that where like you have maybe like a bump and then like kind of a ring around that with some separation? What does that look like?
So yeah, if you think of like a typical, a dartboard or whatever. So yeah, you would have the red mark in the middle, which is where the initial bite was. Then you would have an area where it's clear, your skin color, and then another ring around that, which is red. And that's just, so it looks like, like a bullseye or whatever.
Yeah.
And that's when you definitely want to come in and have a professional look at that and then determine if they think it's, so that's when we would ask you, what kind of a tick was it? Was it a brown tick? Did you get the head out? How big how much of engorgement did the tick have? That determines, next steps.
Okay, so that's what to look out for those tick bites this summer. We often hear about kids getting like injured on trampolines or from climbing trees or from doing any sort of trick like that. Talk about some of the physical injuries that you're seeing when parents should bring their child in, and anything else important to know about that sort of thing.
So yeah, trampolines, they're so much fun. So we get a lot of wrist fractures, ankle sprains, the occasional head injury from kids falling off monkey bars, falling off the trampoline, things like that. So that one, I tell parents, it's kind of your call. You want to have someone, if you're concerned for a fracture or a sprain, you definitely need to have them come in for an x-ray. You'd also need to be aware that x-rays do take a while. So, don't come in at, if we close at 7, don't come in at 6:45 and expect to have your x-ray by 7 o'clock. So that way you can go to the cookout. Those do take an hour or so. If you notice any abnormal shaped joints, like the wrist joint looks like a swan neck, like it's curved, you definitely want to have that checked out sooner. But if a child is saying, oh, my ankle kind of hurts, but I'm able to walk on it, just kind of keep an eye on the child, and then, when in doubt, check it out. But you can even wait till the next morning to see if the inflammation goes down and then get an x-ray.
All right. So yeah, stuff to keep an eye on because, folks are certainly more active in the summer. We've got just over a minute left. Certainly heat related illnesses, very, very relevant. Well, they certainly will be later in the summer. Talk about some of the early warning signs of dehydration, heat exhaustion, kind of what to look out for and what to do with a minute to go.
Okay, sure. So dehydration, you just kind of feel, you feel thirsty, your mouth is dry. You might be a little bit sweaty. You definitely want to get some fluids in you as soon as you can. Heat exhaustion, however, is more serious. Your skin might feel cool, moist. You might feel like you have goosebumps or see goosebumps even when you're standing in the sun or the heat. You're sweating profusely, so heavy sweating. It's almost like what they say, sweat's just pouring off of you.
Yeah.
You feel tired, dizzy. Your blood pressure drops. You feel weak. You get nausea or vomiting or headache. That's when you want to stop what you're doing immediately, get to a cool place, sit down, lie down if you need to, and start drinking water or sports drink.
Yeah.
Any fluid that you can actually will help, but you want
Yeah.
something cooled in you as soon as you can.
Exactly. Kevin Collins with Pana Community Hospital. Kevin, thank you.
You're very welcome. Have a good day.
With SRN News, I'm Rich Thomason in Washington. President Trump is describing as garbage Iran's